What's going on, good people? What's going on? It's been so long since I've been back on the show. Now, y'all already know, let me make sure my camera and stuff is right. I know I'm a little rusty than what I used to be, but I'm back at it. We're talking real estate. That's what I'm talking about. We're talking real estate. So let's talk some real estate. Y'all know that I've been busy. I've been out there working, hustling, trying to get some things together. I feel like this camera a little too high. Let me bring it down. There we go. More personal. So we got a lot going on tonight. I get a lot of clients talking about they want to get out of renting. They want to invest in their first home. Right now, it's the time to talk about it. I brought on a gentleman that I find to love because he has so much information. And even I have to learn about what information he's given. But this gentleman that I'm about to bring on, he is definitely a guy that you want to connect with if you have any questions or concerns as far as your condition of buying in this current market. His name is Tim Murphy. I'm going to bring him on in a minute and have him to talk a little bit about himself. But guys, y'all know how I am. This is a live show. Ask your questions. Engage with him. Engage with me. Let's get this understanding of what needs to happen as far as what you need to do to be a first-time home buyer, second time, third time, or whatever the case may be. Even if you want to start investing, he does investing classes as well. So I'm going to bring him on. And here he is, Tim Murphy.
Hey, Darian. Darian, it's funny. You are so humble, about what you do. And yet, what we were just talking about an hour or two ago. You said, yeah, I just got another $700,000 house under the contract, working it. Backup contract, which blew me away. People don't think about that, right? I mean, you just jumped in and said, let's make it happen. And that's a sign of a real estate pro, dude. You're like on it. So no, I am honored to be on your program. I was fired up when you invited me. What did I say? I said, let's do it.
Yes, sir.
Amen to that one.
Amen. So but please tell the crowd a little bit about yourself so we can get this thing rolling because we got a whole PowerPoint for you.
We do. We got to roll. I know, and Darian knows. He's like, God, he's always creating these PowerPoints. Well, listen. First of all, this is day 17 with no caffeine. Darian knows me. I'm a little hyper, and I don't know what happened, but I stopped drinking coffee, and now I'm like fired up even more. So a lot of fun. I've done this for like 35 years, and my goal is what's called financial freedom. Everybody can buy. It's just a matter of when, if, and how, right? That's all it comes down to. And the other thing that Darian and I are talking about this is our fifth housing crisis. Now, remember, someone called me an OG the other day. I thought that was old goat. I was like, man, what the heck's that all about, right? But then I found out original gangster. So I like that action too. That's a little bit better for me, at least anyway. But guys, we're gonna have fun tonight. We're gonna go through a lot of information. That's why I do a PowerPoint. And Darian, are you gonna give them the PowerPoint at the end?
Yeah. So guys, y'all know how I am. If you want the PowerPoint, just inbox me your information or put it in the chat. I'll make sure you get a copy of it.
Yeah, well, let's go, man. I'm ready to rock. Come on, brother.
Let's do it.
So, Darian, why do we call this the big lie? Because
you can buy anything.
Buy. Yeah. I want people to know that. I mean, that's the whole point. It's all a matter of conceiving the dream, knowing what you want to do, and then having the path to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump on board, man. First, I'm not going to do the slide on me. You know who I am. We talked about this already. And you know who the next one is, right? This is Darian Cole, right? The real estate pro. That's what we call you in the marketplace here. And I told Darian, I said, Darian, you got that extra special, because look at Darian. He's like a professional. He just jumps in. He makes all the changes. He's rolling with it right on the front. So Darian, you're on top of your game, man. So let's jump on board. Let's go to the next slide. So why is it the big lie? And Darian, I got to ask you this, right? Is it cheaper to buy than rent?
It is not cheaper.
We're going to show you guys tonight. Is purchasing impossible?
It is not impossible.
Okay. Now here's the big one. Do you need lots of money?
Absolutely not.
Everything I hear, like, oh, you're getting 20% down. We're gonna surprise you guys tonight, right? All right. The big one. Do we need perfect credit?
Absolutely not.
I know that. Oh yeah. And now here's 100% programs. They exist.
Yes, they do.
And sellers helping out with the process.
100%.
I love this because a lot of agents are like, oh, I don't know. Darian's like, he's like, why are you only asking for 3%? Let's ask for all the closing help, which to me is wild, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, as my people say, if you don't ask, you don't eat. So
exactly. But you're right. You're right on the money. And a lot of people are afraid to ask. And my philosophy is no, you ask. I mean, who is it? Michael Jordan. He was the famous basketball player, right?
yep.
I called him Michael Jackson the other day. I'm like, what do you mean? He didn't date into basketball. Okay. But Michael Jordan said, if you don't shoot, you don't score.
Yep.
And you know what? He's right on the money, man. And the last one, does it take several months to buy a home?
No, it does not.
Exactly right. I mean, Darian will get you home in 30 days or less. In fact, if you let him, 3 weeks or less, right?
Might be tomorrow. You don't know. It's getting better and better.
Well, let's jump on to the next one. So guys, why the lie? Darian, we know this. Negative news sells, right?
Yep.
And it's kind of wild. I mean, people don't realize, but there is such a severe shortage of rentals. And rental rates, are they going up or down?
They're going way up.
Yeah, and it's because there's such a shortage, right? And I think the one thing we all learned from the '07 and '08 crisis is the government recognizes the need for housing. So they've made homes affordable. But Darren, you always say this: it's got to be with the right programs and the right approach, right?
Yep.
And the last question is this a good time to buy?
This is the perfect time to buy.
And Darian's right, because right now sellers are very motivated. They're motivated to help with closing costs. They're motivated on the price. They're motivated sometimes with repairs. I mean, it's a great time. So jump into the next slide. So here's the hard truth, guys. And Darian nailed it right there. It's a challenge to rent. In fact, Darian, you told me the other day you had somebody looking to buy, and what did they say about his credit scores and his job and all that kind of craziness?
His credit score was just jacked up, but they was trying to get it done.
Yeah, and it's wild. And then cash to close, dude, it's nuts.
Yeah.
They went from the first month's rent to 1 month security deposit. I'm hearing 2 months or more, and then with the limit number of rentals, they don't have to take you, do they?
No, they don't.
Now, do they like pets?
they actually love pets, and the best thing about pets, they love to charge you for it.
Exactly. And now I asked you this the other day. Do they charge by the pound or by the size of the type? What do they charge you? How does that work, man?
They based off the size, based off of the type. It could be a couple $100 to a couple. I mean, it's just ridiculous based off of what I've seen.
It really is. So let's jump on in and talk about this, right? So, guys, what it all comes down to, and this is the next slide here, is this. Okay, there is a lot of cost, and people don't think about this. They've got rents going up every year, right? We know that they don't stay the same, right? They miss out on that, on paying that down, that 401k savings. But the big one, Darian, tax benefits, appreciation. And this one people don't think about, having to move every other year, right? I mean, that's expensive. Or stashing their stuff in a storage unit. And someone came to me, which I thought was really wild. He had like a little side hustle, and his landlord had him close down his little side business because he said, you can't have that in my house. You can't do that in a rental. And it was nothing. He was, off the record, he was fixing people's cars. He's a mechanic, right?
Yeah,
but he was doing some side jobs at home, and the guy said, can't do that here. And to me, that's what we're talking about. Ownership is just so critical. So let's go to the next one. So, Darian, this is what you always say. What do you always ask the client?
What do you want?
Right. Exactly.
That's what I ask.
Exactly. Well, you always say, now this is to your clients. I know you ask other people this too. What are your needs, wants, and desires, right? Yeah, but we're talking about real estate here, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. And then you're asking for bedrooms, baths, locations, timeline. And then you want to know, who's going to buy and where do you stand, right?
Yep.
Because you're building along the way.
Yep.
So how do you get started? You know this with Darian, right?
Yeah.
We get a snapshot of where you're at. We pull your credit. We look at your income. We go over your debts. But here's the big one. You've got to learn financial literacy, what we call the programs that are out there, right?
Yeah.
And that's the key. And so, Darian, what's the number one stop to financial literacy? What's number one?
Enriching the landlord.
Exactly. It blows my. We're going to see this later on, Darren. If someone paid like $2,200 a month in rent for 30 years, what was like $792,000?
This.
I mean, how many houses could you buy with that kind of money, right?
Many, especially in Baltimore.
That you know what, that is the truth. So we want you to be confident with your purchase. We're going to kind of show you some of the financial freedom and learn about your options. But ultimately, you got to partner with a real estate pro. And who is that person? That's right. It's Darian Cole, the real estate pro. So let's jump on board. So, Darian, I love this. You said to me the other day, Tim, what's our new motto? And you said it's
Marry the house, date the rate, divorce the landlord.
exactly because we're tired of making them rich, right? It's
Absolutely.
time that you made yourself rich by home ownership. And I think that's the key right there. So let's jump to the next one. So we always talk about the four parts of home ownership, right?
Hmm.
Talk about the payment. You got to be affordable, right? Cash to close, that's a big one. Your credit options, and of course, income stability. And why do we talk about that, Darren? Well, we nailed it in the very beginning because the landlord's looking for high credit scores, right?
Yeah.
680, 720. They want to know that you're in a long-term salary job, which to me is nuts.
Yeah. That.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I don't know about you, but dude, it's tough out there right now. And to find a job that's going to pay you a salary, it's nearly impossible. But for those that are hustling and working that hourly wage and maybe making overtime and just start crushing it, it can be a win-win. Now, we just did a client the other day and they were an Uber driver. They did Uber and they did DoorDash. And I thought it was a win-win. When we looked at their tax returns, they reported $70,000 in income, which I thought was nuts, right? I was almost like, wow, that's a lot of money. You can do a little side hustle there, but I don't think we want to go there, man, right? Let's go
No.
to the next one. So we always like to look at this, and here we look at the two. And so on rent, Darian, you're paying the landlord's mortgage, right?
Yep.
It's going to go up every year, right? And are there any tax benefits?
Absolutely not.
No tax, any and long term savings?
Absolutely not.
Any future borrowing opportunity?
Absolutely not.
Does it help your credit?
Absolutely not.
And the long term is your rent going to go up?
Absolutely so.
Exactly. But look
and,
at
and and it's funny you say that because a lot of people think that being in a rental or in a rental it's going to show that you're trustworthy of buying, and that's not always so.
no. What's funny is people don't realize that your rent is typically not reported on your credit report unless you blow the payment, right?
Yeah.
That's and it's kind of sad in a way. Now there are systems, and we should mention this down the road, where you can have your rent paid through a agency, and then in return being paid through the agency, what can actually occur, and this is kind of crazy, but you can actually have it reported on the credit. But honestly, it doesn't help the scores, man. Now let's go to the other side. On the purchase side, who are you paying? Not the landlord, but yourself,
Self.
right? And Darren, we've always talked about this. What goes up? The payment's not going to go up other than the taxes and the insurance, right?
Yep.
You got the tax bennies, you got long-term savings, got borrowing options, you got credit improvement. It's a win-win. So let's jump into the next slide, man. Okay. So how do you compare? And we've talked about this. You've got to look at the payment because I want to look at real numbers, right? And then we look
Mhm.
at the rental growth. And then we want to break out the payment because you told me this a long time ago. You said, Tim, don't forget to mention that with every payment, part of that payment goes to principal, right? It's kind of like a savings account in a way, like a 401k, right?
Yeah.
And then when you look at the tax bennies, it's huge. But here's the big one at the very bottom. When they go to sell that house, there's a large part that's not taxed, man.
Yeah.
And if you look at the folks that are the multimillionaires, Darren, they made it through real estate, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to be one.
And I'm on him, guys, just so you know that. So call me later on. I am on Darren like cat's meow, man. All right, let's go to the next one. So Darian always likes to look at examples, and I think this is huge. And he always said, Tim, show them the money, right? So let's look at the left-hand side. This is somebody buying a house with an FHA loan, $300,000. This could be Charles County, it could be Prince George's County, doesn't matter. And we're going to assume that the house is going to go up every year 3% in value. So here's the payment, $2,249. But Darren, you always said to me, break out that principal piece, right? That $314. So
Yeah.
the real payment after you take out the savings is $1,934. Now compare that to the right-hand side. If the rent payment's $2,200 and you add back in that 401k contribution you're making, right? That's comparing to a $2,500 payment. Now here's the kicker. On the left-hand side, after you make a payment for 30 years, Darian, what happens to your payment? Where does it go?
It goes.
Yeah, just to the taxes and insurance. But look on the
Yeah.
other side. If the rent goes up 3% a year, dude, it's
5,000.
5,330.
Yeah. That's
That's insane. And I love this. Go down one slide here. If you pay $2,200, there it is, man, times 30 years, that's $792,000. That's just sick, dude. That's now here's the big question. Does the rent stay at 2,200?
No.
No. So that's assuming the rent was fixed for 30 years. Dude, it's not going to be there. We already said $5,000. You're going to pay like $1.5 million to the landlord. Man, you know what? I want to become a landlord so you can pay me, right?
Yeah, I'm in that boat.
Amen to that one. Now, look on the other side, guys. If the house goes up 3% a year, $728,000. That's where a $300,000 house will appreciate to at 3% a year. So we want you guys to see, that less the tax benefits. Owning is huge. And go to the next page so they can see this. I want you guys to see this. If you look at the first line, every time you make a payment, part of that payment goes to principal. Okay. And I always tell people, feel good about your mortgage payment because you're just knocking the bones out of that loan. You're just kind of cranking it down. It slowly goes up and it's kind of a home run, isn't it?
So
Really?
you're saying that there's benefit in paying
Yeah.
it?
Isn't that weird? Well, the benefit is not only in the principal, but Darian, you always tell people, don't forget the interest, the mortgage insurance, and the real estate taxes are tax deductible, right? And that's why you always wonder, how do people afford that home? It's because of the tax benefit. That's really what it comes down to. And we're going to talk a little bit about house hacking a little later on. But Darren, we are not talking about how people are getting in homes and actually making them rentals almost immediately, right?
Yeah.
So it is wild what you can do. Let's jump on to the next slide, man. So financing options. Everybody says, how can I buy a home? Now, Darren, you always want me to just start at the very beginning. Look at the top, guys. These are the standard programs. This is not magic. This is not BS. Now, I will tell you, a lot of lenders won't tell you this information. They want to keep it the secret. I'm not sure why, right? But this is what it really comes down to. It's conventional loans is about 620 score, 580 score for FHA. That's just with the minimum 3.5% down. VA, 600, right?
Yep.
620 for USDA, no money down. And then we want to talk to you about the Maryland Mortgage Program later on. Now, here's what's cool, Darian. FHA, 580, right?
Yep.
3.5% down, right?
Absolutely.
What's the maximum mortgage in Prince George's County? Yeah, it's $1 million. Thank you. Guy catches me off guard, man. Every time I see that, dude, I'm like, dang. Okay, but what I want you to see is FHA loans go to $1,089,000. Now, why do I tell you this? I had a client last week looking at a house. I love them, okay, for $1,100,000. And they're like, nobody will talk to us. And I said, I'll talk to you. I have no problem. And I asked them, I said, hey, listen, I said, where is it? They said, well, our scores aren't great. There's 595. And I said, okay, let's take a look at the credit, pulled the credit up. It was a little crunchy, but not too bad. And I said, do you have 3.5% to put down? Do you have about 40 grand? And they said, yeah. I said, you could buy a house. Now this is wild. Turned down by 2 other lenders. That's my point. They're not using this. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of lenders, they don't know how to spell FHA. To me, it's simple, but they don't think about it, right? So some benefits here. Let's go to the next slide, man. So let's compare cash, right? Just like that example we just did. Let's look at rental. So we know it's going to be like 1 month's rent, right?
Yep.
And then you told me 2 months now security deposit. Is that what they're looking for?
If you ain't got that much good credit, sure is.
And then the pet deposit based on the size of the pet, right?
That's why people sneaking them in.
Hey, you know what? You're right about that. And I'm thinking, do I really need that dog? I know he's been with me forever. Yeah, you do. You kidding me? Come on now. And then credit check could be like $100. Now look at the other side, down payment. We know, of course, purchase, you're gonna need a down payment, but maybe not, right? Okay. And then closing costs and inspections. You just told me something wild. You had a seller pay all the closing costs.
It was great.
Yeah. And then you could use the Maryland Mortgage Program to offset it. So let's look at a real live example, man. So here's an example that Darian and I just put together just the other day. And we said, if you're going to pay 1 month's rent, that's $2,200, right? And then if you pay, ready, 1 and 2 months security deposit, okay, and then $100 credit check, you've just spent $6,700. But if you buy a $300,000 house and you go USDA or VA. Remember, why do I use 300,000? Because it's basically a $2,200 payment, right? It
Mhm.
makes sense. Well, USDA and VA is zeroed down. Of course, we can always use the Maryland Mortgage Program. Okay, here's the closing cost of Charles County. It's about 13.5. Now, Darren, you're funny. You said I'm going to give them to pay all 13.5 in closing, right? Which they can do.
Yep.
That's what people don't realize. But in this case, if they only pay 3%, it's $4,500. And what people don't understand is it's cheaper, guys, substantially cheaper because of the benefits. And like I said, you got the real estate pro by the name of Darian Cole. You know what you got, right?
And it's all based off the market that you're in. The more you know the market, the better your outcome will be.
And this is the market to jump in. It really is. So
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win. Let's go to the next slide, man. So you can see, guys, there are programs out there. And Darian and I always like to kind of play. Remember, 3% down conventional, right?
Yep.
FHA, you're looking at 3.5%.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, VA, no money down, which is wild. And then USDA is zero. And I think, and then of course the Maryland Mortgage Program. But let's jump in and talk about USDA just for 1 second, right?
Mhm.
So what is USDA? Do you remember? It's the United
United
States
States.
Department of Agriculture, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Darian always says you got to give people a little bit of history how these programs. So like FHA and USDA kind of came out at the same time, and USDA is available for loans in the country, right?
Yep.
And then FHA is more like a city loan. Now, Darian, I'm gonna quiz you. I'm gonna put you on the spot. You ready?
Oh,
So are there any areas in Prince George's County that you can use a USDA loan in?
absolutely.
Yay! Score! You're like, who was it? The Chargers last night? I missed the game, man. I don't know what happened. I shouldn't say that, but I know.
The Chiefs. The Chiefs.
Jeez, geez, that's even worse, dude. What the heck happened to me, man? When the Baltimore Colts left Baltimore, that was kind of it for me. See, I definitely am an old guy, can I tell you? But so USDA, so yeah, so like Accokeek areas, Marlton areas, outside of Brandywine, you got
Mhm.
Aquasco, that whole area to the right hand side, right into South County, Anne Arundel County. That's all USDA. They just
Yep.
got to meet the standards. How about Calvert County? I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there any areas? Is the whole county available for USDA?
I don't know about the whole county, but I know there are definitely some out there for USDA.
It's the whole county. So I'll give you a field goal with that one, man. Yeah, I think that's what they won by, right? Yeah. So the whole county. And how about St. Mary's County?
I'm honestly not sure. But I believe if it's spots in there, it will be.
And it's the whole county except for right around Lexington Park. And ready?
Okay.
What about Charles County?
Absolutely.
Except the whole county except for really Charles County. So people
Now
don't
that
understand.
Charles County, I know.
There you go. Well, my point is, people don't understand. Now here's the crazy part. Why don't you hear about USDA? Do you know why?
Why is that?
Less than 1% of the loans in the United States are USDA. So a lot of lenders don't talk about them because they don't do them.
Mm.
And that's what, that's why I go in the very beginning. We called it the big lie. And you're like, Darren said, why calling it that? Because people don't know what's actually out there and available for you. They really don't. And the last one is like I call it the secret sauce, the Maryland Mortgage Program, MMP. And guys, you can look this up. I mean, just go to marylandmortgageprogram.gov, right? And you can see it. The Maryland Mortgage Program offers down payment assistance from 3 to 6%. And Darian, I know you got some special things to say about this program, but I'm not gonna steal your secret sauce here. We'll go to the next slide, man. So MMP is kind of like an umbrella, right? You use like an FHA loan or USDA loan or VA loan, any one of the loans that we just talked about, but here USDA is providing additional assistance. And Darren, you always told me, remind people that first of all, it's not a first-time homebuyer program, right?
No, it's not.
Now, Darren, I'm going to put you on the spot. You ready?
Ready.
What is a first-time home buyer?
First time home buyer is a first time home buyer.
Exactly. Ready for this one? Who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years?
Last 3 years. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly right. See, Darian, I'd like to tease Darian a little bit, man, because he keeps him going. You know what I mean? But you're right. So people don't understand. If you haven't owned a house in the last 3 years, you are technically a first-time home buyer for the Maryland Mortgage Program. That means you get the additional benefits. So let's go to the next slide and look at today's rates. Okay. Now, Darian, I'm getting kind of old, so I have to kind of look in here a little bit tighter here. Yeah. Oh, geez. Okay, that's a lot bigger. Okay, so guys, look at the top, the mustard color, right? That yellow orange color. That is the first time home buyer rates. So you can see here, I'm gonna pop down to the one that says first time advantage 5% loan, right? So here the rate is 6.875, but the state of Maryland is giving you 5% of the loan amount towards your down payment and your closing costs, basically 100% financing. And then you're going to use Darian to get the rest of the closing, right, Darian?
Absolutely.
So, guys, and Darian always says, you marry the house, you date the rate, because
Rates
and
and
then we
divorce.
divorce the attorney, not the attorney, the landlord. Jeez, I got to remember. I'll let you roll it, man. But Darian, one of the things that we talk about this as well, people get into homes. What do they typically do after 9 months to a year when the rates come down?
Refinance.
Exactly. So we always tell people, listen, this is more of a temporary payment because our goal is to reduce that payment through refinancing down the road. Let's jump into the next slide, man. And so this one's huge. And Darren, we were talking about this the other day, the Greenbelt Home Advantage.
Yep. Yep.
This is wow. How much of a grant do they get? Do you see it up there?
My glasses aren't on, so.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So Darian, he's very humble, but listen, somebody who lives in the city of Greenbelt, and they've been there for 12 consecutive months renting, they can get a
15.
$15,000 grant.
Mm.
Dude, that's huge. Now, Darian, I know you don't want to talk about this, but the Maryland Smart Buy, it's pretty huge, isn't it?
Yes, it's definitely huge.
And that's the program that allows, ready, the state of Maryland to pay up to $50,000 of your student loan debt off. So the rate's a little higher. Don't get me wrong, it's 7%, but you see the 6% next to there? So they're either going to get 4% or 6% towards the down payment and closing costs. They're going to get, you can get 3% with Darian with getting with the seller, right? To negotiate the closing help. And then the state of Maryland's going to pay 50 grand off. That's huge. And the last one that Darian wanted me to mention is the Maryland Home Ability. That's a program designed to provide you with down payment assistance. And it's kind of wild, $40,000, right? Towards your down payment. And this is a program that's there to assist people with disabilities. So guys, pretty significant, pretty hot programs. Let's jump on the next slide, man. So MMP, Darian, what's special about this program?
Required inspections, appraisal repairs, conditions, and must be prior to closing. I mean, I'm just reading, so
And Darian, you're right. Let's squeeze this down, man. I don't see you in the picture. I want to see you in there. That's better, man. Exactly right. So, but there are some limitations. Now, this is kind of wild. The limits aren't bad. So let's go to the next screen. Look at the limits. You probably had to make it bigger. I'm sorry, man. Well, I'll just show you. Prince George's County is all the way to the right in the middle. It says PG County. Good job. All right. If the family size is 1 to 2, you can make up to $170,000 to be eligible to use this assistance. And everybody thinks it's meant for people low income. Dude, 170 is decent income, don't you think, Darian?
Yeah, I think so.
Now here's the quiz, Darian. If they're over 170, but they're under 199 and they're a family of 2, what are you going to recommend?
Having a baby.
Yeah, exactly right. No, we're just teasing you, but realistically, that's true because
Get the work in.
Yeah. Hey, you got to do what you got to do for the sake of the house. I'm just saying, right? So Darian is right. And by the way, it's kind of wild, but they'll accept a letter from a doctor stating that you're pregnant, or they'll actually accept a sonogram. So, guys, it's time to get busy. What do you say, Darian?
Hey, you already heard what I said. Get busy. Don't stop.
All right, let's go to the next slide, man. I want to see you back again. There you go. All right. So, Darian, we talk about making houses affordable, and this, everybody says, okay, we laugh a lot about getting people in, and you and I were talking about this the other day. I had 2 young guys. One guy was 21, another guy 22. They're just buds, they're just friends, and they said, we really want to buy a house, and we can qualify, but the payment's still a little bit high for us. And Darian, we were talking about house hacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, what is that? And I said, well, it's pretty simple. Then this is kind of crazy. These people actually went under contract and they bought a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath house. They're living in 2 of the bedrooms. Okay. And then they're renting the other 2 bedrooms out for $800 a piece.
Paying all the mortgage.
and you're right, just about all. And then they still have the benefits of the tax deductions. So house hacking is just another way of making a house affordable. And a lot of people don't think about this. It's your first home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of nice to own your own home and have somebody pay you to live there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, amen to that one. And then the other way that we talked about this was a 2-1 buy down. Maybe they get into a fixed rate, like a fixed payment of like 6%, for example. And in a buy down, we start with a little bit of a reduced payment year one. So 6 minus 2 is.
Don't question me with that one yet. He caught me
So
off guard with that
four,
one.
I did actually, Darian. I'm like, oh, geez, I caught him off guard.
I just got off of work, and you should.
Yeah, sorry, man. So 6 minus 2 is 4% is year one,
Yeah,
right? 6% minus 1.
6% minus 1, 5.
Oh,
I
yay!
was gonna make sure I was right. I was like, I'm second guessing myself over here.
Yeah, yeah, and then year 3 through 30, of course, is going to be at 6%. But it gives people time to kind of get into the payment and get comfortable with it. And then, Darian, you always say we marry the house.
They date the rate, and you fire, divorce, whatever you gotta do. That landlord.
Hey,
Welcome.
so realistically, we want you to be able to refinance down the road, right? I mean, that's the key. So if you get into 4, 5, 6, and it's a fixed 30-year, and you can able to refinance at 9 months to 12, I did 12 months at 4.5, dude, that's a win-win. It
Yep.
really is. Now let's talk. Can we talk a little bit about assumptions?
Absolutely.
So assumptions are a little bit of they're a little bit of a challenge, but like I said, who do you call? Darian Cole, the real estate pro, right? And so on an assumption, you as the buyer are assuming a seller's current mortgage. And Darian, you and I both know 2 years ago, what were rates like?
They were like between 2.5% and 4%, maybe.
They're very inexpensive. And so
Great.
when you're doing an assumption, you're assuming or taking over a seller's current mortgage. And this is typically with that FHA loan, that VA loan, but the USDA loan. Now here's the difference. You're assuming the loan, you're taking over the balance, what's left on their term, but you do have to make up that gap. So Darren, let's say you're selling a house for 400 and they owe 375. They got to make up that $25,000 difference, right?
Yeah.
But here's the kicker, guys. The closing costs are significantly cheaper on an assumption. So, and there are not that many out there, but I'll tell you what, having a pro like Darian be able to search for you, that's key when you have a little bit of money. And then Darian always says, look to the future to refinance.
Refinance.
Exactly. Let's go to the next slide, man. So, Darian,
This
what the
makes me
heck?
hungry. This part makes me hungry.
Yeah, in fact, I see that one chip got bit. So what's the chip program?
Pretty much it's a Community Heroes Initiative program.
And so you and I've talked about this. We try to target not just the standard teachers, nurses, EMTs, but you've actually said you would take it even farther, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking to the everyday man. And so what I love about Darren's like, how can we actually help reduce those costs? And so what we try to do is the real estate agent provides a free home warranty, which is a win-win. And then when you work with a lender that's kind of tied into the program, we're providing a free credit report and a free appraisal. So it definitely is a lot of savings. And then Darian, you've also negotiated some specials with like the inspection companies, some of the other service providers, lawn care, et cetera. So there's a lot more. And I always love this. I say this. And so Darian says, yeah, that's why I took a bite out of the
See.
There you go. Out of the cost of buying a home. So it's kind of a win-win. So let's wrap it up, man. What do we got? USDA. Now, Darian likes me to hold this one to the very end because he says people don't realize those income limits are kind of high, right? So there's family of four, $129,400. But keep in mind, we do take out some of the child care expenses, possibly medical expenses. There are ways to kind of reduce that. And of course, Darian, if they're over 129 and they're less than 170, what are you going to recommend?
And
Time to get busy, right? There you go, man. I love the way you roll that, man.
it got had a little effect with it. I don't know if y'all saw The Rock.
Yeah. All right, what do we got, man? So, guys, here's something that is a challenge. I mean, we've tried to show you through the whole process that you really don't need a lot of money. Sometimes you're going to find that money is important in the process. Savings. Darren, we've talked about this. People having garage sales, selling some of the things they're not using anymore, working the overtime. I love this one, Darren. You told me the other day. You said you talked to your clients. You told them to move in with mom and dad because
They're gonna want to move you out and get you.
Exactly. They're gonna pay to get you out, right? I thought that was brilliant. I was like, man, I got to use that one, man. Seriously. And then of course they can get loans on their assets, but you know 401k or TSP, right?
Yeah,
There are programs out there, and then the big one, everybody's filing their taxes.
time of the year.
Gave that tax refund, right? That could be huge.
Yeah,
So what are we talking about, guys? Let's go to the next slide here. Okay. We're all coming, it's all coming down to we've shown you that you don't need a lot of money. There are places to find money. There are programs out there as far as no money down. There are programs for assistance. We're going to get closing up. But this is the one item we really have to focus on, which is credit scores, right? And Darian, you and I've always told people the biggest thing is you never want to fear, and that's the key, your credit. We just want to start getting on top of it right away because the credit impacts everything. The down payment, the program, what you have available, how much you can buy, right? So jump back on and we'll see this with the next slide. So here's again, remember that same table we looked at before. And remember, our goal is a 580 for FHA, but now you'd have to borrow on maybe your TSP for that down payment, right? If we get you up to a 640, that Maryland mortgage program is huge because of the down payment assistance. 620 if you can buy into a USDA. Heck, if you're a veteran, it's wild. Now I'm gonna put you on the spot, Darian. What's the maximum mortgage a veteran can get?
the maximum mortgage a veteran can get. Yeah, you gotta let me know that one. See, that's your department.
Well, Darian is very humble. The maximum mortgage, it's unlimited. Now, if you've never used your VA before, that means you can go to town, right? You
Yeah,
can get out
absolutely.
there. And that's what we're trying to tell you guys. There are options out there for you. Let's jump into the next slide, man. So, Darian always wants me to point out why is credit important. It's real simple. If you got a tough score, okay, and let's say you're buying a used Honda Accord and you're getting like a six-year payment, and if you got like a 550 score, which is pretty rough, the average interest rate's like 17%. That means your payment's like 565. You're gonna spend about 40 grand, a little over that. But if you've got a really good credit score, guys, the average used car, see this used car, this is not no new car, that rate's 5.49. So the difference is, check it out, ready? It's roughly $11,000, right? Difference between the two.
Between two, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's wicked. And that's why credit's important. Let's jump on the next slide here. Now, Darian, I'm going to put you on the spot, man. Okay. So listen. Yeah, I know. Darian's like, okay. So here's the key. If your score is below a 620, Darian, what's the odds someone's going to have a little bit of a challenge with their mortgage?
I know this one. 8-2. I mean 8-1.
8-1. He's
Yeah,
trying to be there.
I was close.
You're right. It just means that we want to improve your scores so that you don't have as tough of a time. And why is that important? Because the higher the score, the better credit card offers, the better car loans, the better, you ready for this one, life insurance, the better car insurance, and this is the big one, the better jobs.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize you don't have good scores, good credit, might not be able to get that good job. So we want to build your credit, and that's what I want to tell you about. In fact, Darren, you want me to mention next week we have the credit repair class, which we'll send out. We'll invite everybody because we have a lot of clients that will just attend the class. It's a Zoom class. It's next Wednesday, the 22nd, I think it is, from 6:30 to 7:30. But guys, you can jump on that class and just learn more about fixing your credit, right? Because credit, there is like this huge hoodoo voodoo. It's not. There's a lot of options out there. Let's jump on the last one. So, Darian, what's the next step?
Gotta talk to us.
Exactly. You got to call the man, set up that consultation. And Darian, how much does it cost?
It is free 99.
That's right, free 99. And you know, I never caught, but I like that. That's free 99. All right, but the point of the matter is this: you got to start somewhere, right? And Darian, you always start with the dream.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you, man. You kind of nail it down and say, you know what? You got to set the dream in place. You got to know what you're looking for. Get the credit pool. We'll map out a path for you. You might be buying now. You might be buying a little while from now, right? But
Yep.
it's time for you to buy your new home. So, Darian, how do they get a hold of us?
All they gotta do is email us or call us. Easy steps.
And that's the key. I want you all to know, listen, this is a really easy process. It's not difficult at all. And if you have questions, listen, you feel free to call me. Not a problem. Give Darian a call, and Darian will provide you with a PowerPoint as well. We can send it out to you, the whole 9 yards. We just want you to know, guys, there are options out there for you. There are ways of doing this. Darian, any questions in the audience?
Not so far, not yet. But
Good.
I'm sure they're gonna be calling like they call me every day.
And
And
that's the key. You want to start the process by reaching out. Give Darian a call.
yeah,
Start with the questions, guys. And like I always tell people, it's not a question if, it's just a question of when and how. That's all it comes down to. And this is your first step to financial freedom, because I've done this now for 30, almost 39 years. So I'm an old dog, and my point is, I have clients that have paid their loan in full, that have walked away with hundreds of thousands of dollars, that are now living in their houses, their homes, okay, ready, mortgage free. So, at the end of the day, don't believe all the lies that are out there, that you need a boatload of money, that you got to have perfect credit, okay, that you got to be like stellar income. You don't. All you need to do is have a phone. You pick up Darian, and we go from there.
yeah, and just to piggyback off of all that you've said, because even I was learning as you every time you talk, I learn. So it's
We
just
have we have fun, man. Next time I'm going to ask you
yeah.
what the maximum VA loan is. Just remember, man. I'm just telling you.
And I'm telling you, go to his class. I've been to one. My whole brokerage was trained by him as well. So what he's talking is not, just smoke.
This is
He's
real.
he's really bringing his A game. I mean, he's had well experienced with a lot of what he's saying. I ain't put your business out there, but he's well
I
experienced.
appreciate. Yeah, let's talk. Let's narrow that down. In the mortgage world, I'm just saying. Okay, yeah. Jeez.
Well, no, but honestly, guys, I know a lot of you all that call me, asking about what to do, where to start, and then a lot of you guys that's even might be looking at playing games, because I tell you what to do and you don't do it, and then it's end up being too late when you miss opportunities. So right now is a perfect time. We have a lot of stressful buyers that's coming from the new year that hasn't
Right.
sold their home and they want to get rid of their home, and this is a great opportunity to hop on those type of homes because they're willing to give you some assistance to close, so let's not have opportunity
Yep.
dangle, as they say, don't dangle meat in front of a lion. you know
Well, and Darren, I think you nailed it right there. And people don't understand. There are 100% programs out there. There are down payment assistance. There is closing help. I mean, there's a lot out there, but you've got to be willing to ask first, right?
Yep, don't ask, don't eat.
And you know what? That's the truth right there, man. I'm serious.
Well, I appreciate your time, Tim.
Yeah. No, it's a
Definitely.
blast.
Yeah. We're gonna have a lot more of these, because I'm coming with a boatload of stuff that we're going to be continuing to keep doing and trying to encourage people and educate folks to be able to walk towards either home ownership or investing. Because I know, guys, he has a strong investment program. I'm trying to get in
Yep.
that boat too, but it's great. It's really great, and we all have to start looking to see how we can make a blueprint for ourselves to actually do what needs to be done for our futures and for our generations after us. Because we gotta make sure we pass things down to our kids and our kids.
And Darren, that's what I love. You always talk about generation legacy wealth.
Yeah,
You're always saying, you know what, we need to help everyone get ahead, because that's what it comes down to. If you're willing to make the effort and really push out there, you could do it. You really can.
yeah, and it's not impossible. Trust me, I've seen it. I've seen people make deals happen in ways that I'm like, how?
How
like
did they do that? Yeah. No, and you know what? That's what I love about your spirit, man. You're always on top of it.
So Tim, your next class, I know you
Ah,
got a whole plethora of classes, but
yeah.
you want to speak about your classes. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
you got one next
Sure.
week. I know you have a lot more coming.
Yeah, so I'll give you the hot ones. If and by the way, this is something that I've always offered to Darian. If there is enough interest in one of the classes, we'll actually do a private class for you and your clients as well.
How
Um,
much are the classes? I'm sorry.
oh, the classes are free.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure.
That's it, right. Well, look, the classes are free because what I have found, the more you give, the more it comes back. Right? We've talked about this before.
Yeah,
It's it's the biblical rule. You give it away, it comes back tenfold. So it's a win-win. But the class is coming up. The next class, actually next week, is actually a credit repair class, which we provide both to the agents and the clients. And it's a class to understand what's it take to increase your credit score. So what do I need to do? What do I pay down? What do I hit? Because sometimes people make the mistake, they pay off the wrong things. It's kind of like waking up that sleeping dog, or they pay things off that didn't need to be paid. Or sometimes we'll say, hey, listen, we need to kind of rework some numbers. We need to restructure some debt. I might recommend getting a credit card. But there are a lot of ways that you can jump in to be able to enhance your scores. And we do it for free. I should recommend that as well. We actually provide you with a credit repair plan. We pull your credit, we do give you a plan, and then here's the kicker. You ready? We make Darian your credit coach. So Darian will then walk you through this, and with Coach Cole in the arena, it's going to be a win-win,
I
right?
can't find it. I got a ruler. You get out of line, I spank you.
It sounds a little weird too, Darian. We won't go there. Okay, so next week's class is credit repair. That's on February 22nd. It's either we actually have it from 1 to 2 or 6:30 to 7:30. And Darian, you want me to mention that is both in person and Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually attend both. So that's huge. That's number one. Number two, we also have right after that, we have a class because sometimes people have a bankruptcy or a short sale or a foreclosure, how to buy a house after those events. Now, the big one coming up, which I think is going to be huge, is how to own and operate a vacation rental. Mm. So that class is coming up. So if you want to get into investing, that class is coming up on March 8th. I think that's the class. And then March 15th is how to buy a condo. Because people always know, you know what?
Condos are tricky.
Very tricky. So we want to do that class. And then I don't remember the other classes. We have an investment class coming up. We just had our flipping class, how to flip homes. That's a wild class too. So we've got, listen, I have like 16 classes, but more importantly, because you guys are friends and family of Darian, I'm more than happy to do any class, Darian, that you can think of. If people say to you, hey, Darian, we want to know more about X, and we'll teach you guys. Our goal, like I said, is to make you guys all homeowners, to create that generation legacy wealth, man.
Awesome. Well, I ain't gonna hold up, nobody else time, but we could go on and on. But I definitely just wanted to show appreciation for you teaching.
Oh, thank you, man.
That are interested of coming to homeowners or just being able to learn the process,
right,
and having your skill sets to really impact their lives.
Hey guys, remember Darian's motto? Ready? It's marry the house,
date
the
rate,
and
strangle. Oh, that's the other one. I'm sorry.
That's right. Divorce the landlord. God,
I'm sorry. I had flashbacks of some landlords. I'm sorry.
I understand that one, man. Especially when they raise that rent like 3 times. Like what?
Well, guys, y'all already know this is Let's Talk Real Estate, and I'm happy that I can bring it back in full effect. I'm a little busy. I'm sorry, and I cut it off some years ago. Or not some years, but couple months ago. But had a lot going on trying to get some deals together. But we're gonna keep this going, and I will see you all soon.